The detention. The shuttle drifted quietly above the blue-green curve of Castris 4, its hull marked with the insignia of the colony school. Inside, 30 human children chatted and laughed, their voices bubbling with the thrill of their first trip into orbit. They had been promised a tour of the new orbital ring, a lesson in engineering and planetary defense. For most, it was the first time leaving atmosphere. The laughter ended when the shadows appeared. 3 angular ships slid out from the darkness, hulls black and glistening like obsidian knives. They moved without signal or identification. The shuttle pilot, a young man who doubled as a teacher, froze at his console as a voice crackled through the comms, harsh, guttural, accented in a way that turned the words metallic. Human vessel. Cut engines. Prepare for boarding. Compliance will spare the young. The children looked at one another in sudden silence. The Tal'rith arrived with precision. In minutes, the shuttle was swallowed into the hangar of a warship 5 times its size. The boarding clamps snapped like jaws, sealing the humans inside a foreign steel cavern. The shuttle's airlock cycled open, and the first soldiers entered. They were tall, their armor plated and segmented like beetle shells, with eyes that burned faint orange behind their masks. The commander, distinguishable by his crimson crest, surveyed the passengers with what seemed like casual disdain. "Remove them," he ordered. His soldiers moved forward. Some of the children whimpered, others clutched each other, but none of them screamed. That, more than anything, unsettled the Tal'rith. They were marched down a corridor that smelled faintly of ozone and oil. Their small footsteps echoed against the steel floors. Guards herded them into a containment chamber, brightly lit, with walls too smooth to climb and doors that locked with magnetic precision. The commander lingered at the threshold, studying them as though they were specimens in a cage. "You will remain here until your people understand their place," he said. "Resistance will ensure your suffering. Compliance will ensure your return." The door sealed, leaving the children alone. For a long moment, silence reigned. A few of the youngest began to cry softly. But then Lena, a tall, steady-eyed girl of 15, spoke firmly. "Don't panic. Everyone sit. We need to stay calm." The others listened. Somehow, they trusted her. Lena was the daughter of a militia officer, and she had absorbed more than a few lessons from overheard conversations at home. She gathered the younger children closer, made them hold hands, and told them to breathe. One of the boys, Jamie, sniffled but managed a shaky grin. "They think we're scared. Let's not give them the satisfaction." Laughter, nervous but real, broke through the tension. The crying stopped. Behind the sealed door, 2 Tal'rith guards observed through a one-way panel. They watched with confusion. Normally, hostages cowered, begged, wailed. These human children organized themselves. They spoke softly, reassured one another, and even began exchanging jokes. "Strange behavior," one muttered in their native tongue. "They are prey," the other replied dismissively. Prey sometimes bite before the kill. On the surface of Castris 4, alarms were already sounding. The colony governor had received the transmission, grainy footage of the children lined up in the containment chamber, a Tal'rith voice declaring their capture. The governor turned to the council of parents and militia leaders. Her voice was grim. "They want our compliance. They demand we dismantle the defense grid and recognize their sovereignty in this sector. They believe taking the children will force surrender." A ripple of dark laughter ran through the room. One of the fathers, broad-shouldered and scarred from the mining pits, shook his head. "They don't understand," he said. "They don't understand what they've just done." Another parent leaned forward, voice like steel. "They touched our kids. They've already lost." The governor allowed herself a thin smile. "Then let them have their moment of triumph. It will not last long." Back aboard the Tal'rith warship, Commander Yalvek paced before the containment feed, watching the children as they settled into a rough circle. His soldiers assured him that the humans would soon surrender their colony to secure the return of their offspring. Yalvek wanted to believe them, but something in his chest tightened as he studied the calm, calculating eyes of the older girl, Lena. She was not afraid. She was waiting. For the first time since the operation began, Yalvek felt a flicker of unease. "Oh, sweet summer traveler." Commander Yalvek sat in the warship strategy chamber, reviewing the latest report. The humans on Castris 4 had not yet responded to his ultimatum. That was expected. Primitive species often needed time to wrestle with grief and fear. He told himself patience would yield surrender. Yet he could not silence the image replaying in his mind. The children in the containment cell. Not cowering, not screaming. Calm. He pushed the unease aside and turned to his second-in-command. Maintain watch. Humans break eventually. The Tal'rith officer saluted, but hesitation lingered in his posture. Yalvek ignored it. Inside the containment chamber, the children had already begun adapting. Lena paced slowly, her hands behind her back, studying the walls, the vents, the lock seams. Each step looked casual, but her eyes catalogued everything. "Jamie," she whispered, nodding to the corner where a maintenance drone occasionally rolled in to sweep the floor. "You're good with machines, right?" The boy's grin returned, tentative but eager. "Yeah, Dad lets me help with the farm loaders." "Then watch that one. See how it moves, how it listens. If it has senses, maybe you can talk to it." Jamie crouched by the vent, waiting for the drone's next appearance. Meanwhile, Lena addressed the others. "We don't know how long we'll be here. We'll need to keep each other steady. Small kids in the middle when we rest. Rotate watch so nobody gets too tired. And most importantly, don't let them see us break." The children nodded. Orders felt better than silence. From behind the observation panel, two Tal'rith guards exchanged glances. "Do they not understand their situation?" one asked. "They are hatchlings," the other sneered. "They cling to routine, even in captivity." But as the hours passed, their amusement dimmed. The humans were organizing. They treated the cell less like a cage and more like a camp. They whispered strategies. They laughed, even smiled, as though refusing to acknowledge despair. It unsettled the guards, though they would not admit it aloud. Commander Yalvek retired briefly to his quarters, where he stared out at the drifting stars. A memory stirred, his instructor's voice from decades ago, mocking a younger, brash cadet. "Oh, sweet summer traveler, you wander into storms you do not comprehend, and you think yourself safe. Ignorance is the sharpest cliff." The phrase had stayed with him, once an insult, later a warning. Now, for the first time in years, it echoed in his thoughts unbidden. Yalvek clenched his fists. These were only human children. What storm could they possibly summon? The children, as if to answer, escalated their quiet defiance. Jamie succeeded in drawing the maintenance drone closer. He slipped a piece of candy from his pocket, smuggled from lunch, and set it near the vent. The little machine paused, scanned the sugar lump, and scooped it into its receptacle. Jamie clapped softly, delighted. Next time, he whispered a command into its audio sensor, "Come back." To his amazement, it obeyed. Soon he was testing it with other phrases, light, stop, door. The responses were crude, inconsistent, but promising. "Think I can make it help us?" he whispered to Lena. She rested a hand on his shoulder. "Not yet. Be patient. Learn it first." Her eyes flicked to the ceiling where cameras blinked red. They're always watching. Back on the colony, the parents gathered in the militia hall. The governor replayed the alien ultimatum for the 5th time. Each time, the reaction was the same. Grim faces, hard eyes, no surrender. "They believe we will kneel," the governor said. "They believe the children are leverage." A father slammed his fist against the table. "They've taken our kids, and they think they're safe." The militia captain leaned forward. "Then let them think it. Let them send their boasts to the council. Every moment they hold those children, they dig their own grave." No one argued. In the containment chamber, Lena gathered the children into a circle before sleep. "We are human," she told them softly. "Do you remember what that means?" One of the youngest, a girl with braids, sniffled. "That we don't give up." Lena smiled. "Exactly. Humans adapt. We survive. And we fight back when the time is right." She glanced at Jamie, who nodded and hid the drone beneath his blanket where it hummed faintly like a loyal pet. On the other side of the panel, Commander Yalvek watched, unsettled again. The humans were not breaking. If anything, they were sharpening. And in the back of his mind, the phrase mocked him once more. "Oh, sweet summer traveler." The human response. The ultimatum had gone out. Surrender your defenses. Dismantle your militia. Submit your colony to Tal'rith authority, or the offspring perish. Across Kestris 4, the transmission was replayed again and again. Children lined in a containment cell, Commander Yalvek's voice booming with manufactured menace. The Galactic Council watched with idle curiosity, many believing this would end quickly. Humanity was young, stubborn perhaps, but not yet powerful enough to defy the Tal'rith. The expectation was simple: parents beg, colony yields, children returned. But the response came from a single envoy, an older woman with graying hair and a voice that carried steel. She faced the camera, eyes unblinking. "You detained our children. Oh, sweet summer traveler. You have no idea what you've done." The council chamber fell into stunned silence. The phrase rippled across networks, translated into a dozen languages. To the Tal'rith, it sounded like mockery. To humanity, it was a promise. On the warship, Yalvek's unease deepened. He had expected pleas, tears, bargaining. Instead, the humans responded with what felt like pity. The children, too, were not behaving as hostages should. Reports from his guards disturbed him. The young ones had mapped patrol patterns by playing counting games. The oldest, Lena, asked subtle questions about the ship's layout, disguised as childish curiosity. And strangest of all, the maintenance drone assigned to their chamber had begun responding to them, moving in ways no Tal'rith had programmed. "Impossible," Yalvek muttered, slamming the datapad shut. "They are children." Yet the evidence grew undeniable. Inside the cell, Jamie grinned as the drone rolled into place beside him. He had coaxed it to unlock its diagnostic mode using nothing but candy bribes and whispered commands. Now it chirped happily, awaiting instructions. "Okay, little buddy," Jamie whispered. "Door, open." The drone beeped, wheeled toward the hatch, and extended a probe. Sparks hissed, the lock clicked, but then the machine froze as the system overrode the attempt. Jamie cursed under his breath. "Not yet," Lena warned, pulling him back. "We don't open doors until we know what's outside. First we make them blind." She pointed to the cameras. "Tomorrow, we test if your new friend can turn those off." Jamie nodded eagerly. Meanwhile, the parents prepared. The colony militia had studied the Tal'rith for years, ever since the first skirmishes at the edge of the sector. Their ships were larger, their weapons stronger, but they relied on fear to win battles before they began. The militia captain spread a holomap across the table. "They are holding the kids in the forward containment decks. Power routing shows redundancies, meaning if we breach with brute force, the ship could vent those chambers into space." "Not an option," said Lena's father, his jaw tight. "We hit soft, precise. Every move coordinated with what our kids are already doing inside." The governor nodded. "We wait for their signal, and when it comes, we strike like thunder." The signal arrived sooner than expected. Inside the cell, Lena led the children through a carefully staged distraction. At a chosen moment, 3 of the youngest burst into tears, wailing and thrashing so loudly the guards entered to restore order. While they were distracted, Jamie commanded the drone to sabotage the power conduit above the door. The lights flickered, dimmed, just for a heartbeat, but enough for Lena to press a small transmitter into the vent grill. It was a crude device built from scraps of metal and circuit scavenged from the drone's toolkit. The message pulsed across the void: coordinates, layout, guard rotations. On Kestris 4, the militia received it instantly. The captain's mouth curved into a grim smile. They are not just surviving. They are fighting from the inside. Yalvek was still reviewing the reports when the alarm klaxons began to scream. Sensors lit up, multiple human craft lifting from the colony surface, advancing in tight formation toward his warship. "Impossible," he roared. "They should be groveling, not attacking." His second-in-command paled. "Commander, they're not even firing. Their weapons are cold. They are moving with surgical precision, straight for us." Yalvek turned back to the containment feed. The children were huddled in their circle again, calm, eyes bright. The oldest, Lena, stared directly into the camera, as though she knew he was watching. And she smiled. For the first time in his long career, Commander Yalvek felt a flicker of fear. A lesson learned. The Tal'rith warship shook with impacts, not from weapons fire, but from targeted precision strikes that crippled its systems without risking the hostages. The humans weren't trying to destroy it. They were peeling it open, layer by layer, cutting engines, disabling turrets, jamming comms. Commander Yalvek barked orders, but the consoles answered with error chimes. Reroute power. Shields to full. Lock containment cells. It's not working, Commander, cried his lieutenant. Their strikes. Each one is surgical. They know exactly where to hit. Yalvek froze. How? His mind leapt to the containment cell, to the calm eyes of the children. Somehow, impossibly, they had been feeding information to the humans outside. Inside the cell, Lena crouched beside the youngest kids, keeping them calm as the ship groaned around them. Jamie whispered to the drone, coaxing it to hold the lock open just a hair, ready for their parents' arrival. Not much longer, Lena assured them. Stay strong. The children weren't crying now. Their faces were lit with anticipation, even pride. They knew their families were coming. The breach came like thunder. Hull plating screeched, air hissed, and then human marines stormed the corridors with practiced coordination. They carried compact rifles, but fired only when necessary, never toward the containment decks. One squad reached the children's cell within minutes. The door slid open, and the drone beat proudly as if it had helped. Jamie cheered and scooped it up. Dad! Lena shouted, running into her father's arms. Around her, cries of relief filled the chamber as parents swept their children close. But the mission was not over. The humans moved with cold efficiency, rounding up Tal'rith soldiers, securing systems, locking down the bridge. Their restraint was unnerving. They did not slaughter indiscriminately. They acted with precision, as though teaching a lesson rather than waging war. Yalvek found himself disarmed and dragged before the humans in the ship's command hall. He struggled against their grip, humiliated, but it was Lena who stepped forward from the crowd. Her face was streaked with grime, but her eyes burned with unflinching resolve. You thought we were helpless, she said, voice clay. That was your first mistake. Your second was thinking our parents would forgive you. Yalvek searched her face for weakness, for fear. There was none, only the steady gaze of someone who had seen through him from the beginning. The militia captain addressed him next, tone like ice. You crossed a line, not by threatening soldiers, not by raiding a colony. You touched our children, and for that, you will not be feared, you will be pitied. He gestured to the human technicians dismantling the Tal'rith consoles, copying data, stripping weapons. Your ship, your pride, now belongs to us, and the galaxy will see every moment of this humiliation. Yalvek's throat tightened. You mean to broadcast? Yes, the captain said simply. Let every council species see the truth. Humanity does not bow when threatened. Even our children resist you. The transmission went live across the sector. The feed showed rows of children standing tall beside their parents, smiling defiantly, while Tal'rith soldiers knelt in surrender. The words of the envoy echoed once more. You detained our children. Oh, sweet summer traveler. And across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as reckless newcomers began to whisper in our knees. If their children were this dangerous, what of their armies? What of their fleets? Back on Kestrus 4, the return was triumphant. Families poured into the landing fields, embracing the children who had turned captivity into resistance. Laughter mixed with tears, and the colony rang with celebration. Jamie proudly displayed the battered maintenance drone, now painted with childish stars. I hacked a warship with candy, he boasted, and the adults roared with laughter. Lena's father hugged her close, whispering, You were brave beyond your years. She only shook her head. We just did what humans do. We survived. We adapted. We fought back. Far away, locked in a human brig, Commander Yalvek sat alone with his thoughts. The humiliation cut deeper than any wound. He remembered the phrase from his youth, the one he had once dismissed. "Oh, sweet summer traveler, you wander into storms you do not comprehend." He exhaled a shuddering breath. "That was me," he admitted softly, defeated. For the first time, he understood the storm, and he feared it